Hi, this is Rosalinda de la Luna, and I'm happy to be here with you today with Viewpoint, coming to you from KSKC TV from the Salish Community College campus. And our guest today is Angelita Reino Ramon of the Tohono O'odham tribe located in southern Arizona that borders Mexico. Angelita has an amazing story, a story of strength and sadness surrounding the mysterious United States government cover-up of her son, Bennett Joseph Patricio. The reason why this story is so important to the show is because this show is about human rights and about social justice. This show will show the racial profiling that her son was a victim of regarding his death. And so before I go further, I'd like to give you some background on as to where this reservation is located. This reservation is located 60 miles west of Tucson, Arizona, and nearly the size of Connecticut. It has many cultural crossroads there. It's 500 feet away, stands the United States-Mexican border from there that stretches about 75 miles of the reservation. And so I'd like to welcome Angelita. Thank you so much for being on Viewpoint.
Yes, thank you.
We have been doing a lot of research on this particular topic, and you're a student here at Salish Community College. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. And I know that you have done some other news articles regarding your son's death.
Yes, I did.
And can you describe the events that happened on April the 9th, 2002 to your son?
Yes.
And you can start from the very beginning.
From the beginning, it was that we were told that my son was run over, and so we took it like that, you know. But when it went on further, and I went to the morgue to see my son, and the lady at the mortuary said that I couldn't see my son, and I asked her why, and she looked at me and she says, well, you know, he's just not, she kind of had a hard time explaining it to me, but she said that his body had been completely crushed, and I think that's where I really, you know, was in shock, and you know, like how, you know, I know he got run over, but I couldn't understand when she was saying that he was fully crushed. And then getting back with the investigator who was working on the case, what was his name? Jock Ross. He was the one who was working on the case from the beginning, and he was telling me that that there was Border Patrol agents on that road, and that they were working on sensors, and but there was a witness that saw my son that night, and he was getting off work at 3 o'clock, and when he found out what happened, he told us that he was driving down the road on Route 20, and he saw my son walking, and my son waved at him, but he was going a different direction, and so he went on further to, and he saw a Border Patrol agent, and he told him, he said, there's a pedestrian on the road, and so you guys need to be careful. I don't know if he's a Mexican or if he's an Indian. And the witness said that he looked in the rear mirror, and he just saw that the Border Patrol just took off. He didn't realize it till 2 days later that he found out that it was my son. And then he told us, he said, you know, when I was driving down that road, before I met up with your son on the road, there was a Border Patrol and a car parked back to back. And so I believe that your son just walked into something that was going on. So we talked to the detective about it, and he was really, you know, doing well with us, really, you know, working with us and letting us know what was going on. And there were also, days later, there was a car that was burned in the desert, and one of the firefighters that went out there had told us that that we need to check on it because it might be the car that was on the road. And we tried everything. I mean, we went through everything to try to figure out what really happened out that night. And
so, Angelita, this story is absolutely so touching, and it breaks my heart to hear it, and I'm sure that our viewers as well. To give more background information about this area of this reservation, there has been this relationship always because of the proximity to the Mexican border and to the tribe, the reservation itself. And so this area is quite desert, correct?
Yes.
And many Mexican people cross over the border, try to cross over the border to this country. And because Sales, Arizona is the town at which this happened. Is that correct?
Yes, it's close. It's in Sales, and it was on a Cowlick Road. And
so, with the proximity of Sales, Arizona, and the proximity of the Mexican border, there's been this relationship for years. And also, when I say relationship, I mean experiences in both different cultures meeting.
Yes.
And so, the death of your son struck outcry with many human rights organizations in Arizona and in some southern parts of the southwestern part of the United States. Yes. Can you tell us more about your experiences in, because this is a case that has been going on since 2002. Can you tell us how, what other precautions, or should I say assistance, that your tribe helped you with?
At first, the tribe was willing to help us, and but as the years went by, because we had a lawyer, and I didn't realize that the lawyer was trying to get me to do a settlement, and I didn't go for it, and I wanted the Border Patrols to be exposed because of what they were doing on the nation, and but we were called into the tribal leaders, and we sat down with some police officers and public safety and vice chairman, and they told me and my husband to be quiet about it, you know, that and we asked, you know, why, and they said because it was hurting their casinos, and we just couldn't understand, because, you know, this had nothing to do with casinos. Well, in my eyes, you know, it was a crime that was committed. You know, it was something that happened, and I was getting confused, because it was just like, you know, it kind of made me feel like it wasn't worth it, you know. It just like, I just couldn't understand, and I was, you know, they did do a resolution in the beginning saying that they would help us. So, well, you know, why were they changing their mind? You know, why, you know, I didn't realize, but I found out later that it was that the government had gave a huge amount of money to our tribal leaders, and so I guess that was their way of trying to get me to be quiet about, you know, what happened on the nation. Even when we had the reporters to come down to the nation so they can do a report on what had happened, they were told not to, that they weren't allowed on the nation. they drove up to Keep Pick area, in that area, and there was already officers there telling them, the tribal officers were telling them that they weren't allowed on the reservation. So that's why we were having a hard time getting it out in the beginning of what happened with my son.
So, Angelita, can you explain to my viewers what, as a person that's lived there and the person that has actually suffered due to the loss of your son, what has been your experience about how Border Patrol treat people on this Mexican border to the United States from your tribe?
Well, they have a huge stack of complaints on the Border Patrol because of the way they drive.
And when you say they,
the Border Patrol agents, they drive recklessly on the nation, recklessly in the desert. They abuse the people that live there, and the Mexicans that come across, and they have no respect. But yet they have meetings with the leaders, and the leaders continually to tell them, you guys need to be careful, but they still have it in their mind that, I guess one of the biggest thing is one Border Patrol agent said that, well, this is government land and we can do what we want. So, and I guess that's how they use it.
Do you, I was reading in one article in researching this story, and in this article it referred to this area as a battleground. Mm-hmm. And those are pretty strong words in looking at that. And I come from New Mexico, which a small town of Silver City, which is actually not too far from the Mexican border as well. And so I relate a lot of what you're saying in so many different ways. In looking at your pictures, which some of these pictures you've given us authorization to mm-hmm. put on the show, it really struck a chord with me about how this little town of Cells, this little area of our country, is maybe experiencing harassment from our Border Patrol areas. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because the tribal members are always accused of being a Mexican and or being trespassers, or just they're just accused of I don't know, different things. I hear so much, that people, are just angry, and there has been people who have gotten accidents because of the Border Patrol tailgating them and then having their bright lights on at night. So they are an endangerment to people when they just continually do what they want to do and not have the respect for the people that are there.
When we come back with Angelita, we're going to be discussing more about what happened that night, and also why has she continued to fight for this justice for her son. And so, Angelita, we'll be right back. Viewers, we'll be right back. Thank you so much.
Every year, I travel to Churchill, a small town in Canada where the ice freezes first, to see polar bears in their natural habitat. In the winter, polar bears migrate to Churchill from both the north and south and wait for the ice to freeze. Once the ice freezes, they go out and get the food they need for the coming year. While they wait for the ice to freeze, they play, spend time with their cubs, and rest to save their energy for their adventures on the ice. Some of the bears are real characters. They roll around and play as if they're posing for pictures. Even though polar bears are very cute and sometimes playful, it's also important to remember how strong they are. A polar bear can weigh up to 1,600 pounds. When they stand up on their hind legs, they may be over 10 feet tall. Polar bears are excellent swimmers. One fun fact I learned is that polar bears' paws are webbed for swimming. Now, every night when I see the sunset, I'm reminded that we are all connected to polar bears. This helps me remember to do things such as recycle, turn off lights when I'm not using them, and anything I can to help the environment and the bears. For more information and to find out how you can help polar bears, visit www.greatbear.org. Photos and story by Colette Weintraub.
And welcome back to Viewpoint. Thank you for joining us once again. And I am here with Angelita Reino Ramon. And so thank you again, Angelita, for being here on Viewpoint. We are talking about this tragedy that's happened in your life. Yes. Regarding your son and what I would call racial profiling that may have happened with the Mexican people and the Border Patrol, and your son caught in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. It's what it sounds like. Why do you think that that the Border Patrol did this to your son on that night of April the 9th, 2002? Why exactly do you think?
I know that they think that he was a Mexican, and that he probably would have, they thought he probably would have told what was going on that night when the Border Patrol and the car was back to back. But for me, I know that my son would have just walked by, because they, kids, they see it. They see what happens in the desert, but they just walk on by. They don't bother them.
Do you think that the Border Patrol, the question that viewers may ask is that, do you think that regarding this particular case, that the Border Patrol have this one vision of what Indian people look like and what Mexican people look like, or do you think that that's mixed? And how do you feel about that when you look at when you were, if you were to ask someone from the Mexican from the Border Patrol and saying, you know what, how do you view people? How do you think that they would answer?
I think they would answer is, you all look alike, so you're all, but what then the people on the nation have done is they have carried their tribal IDs, to help them for their safety, and but Border Patrol, sometimes they don't even acknowledge, our identification cards. And so it's kind of like an argument, I don't know if they like to argue with you or what, but a lot of the people say that they just get harassed, even just showing them that their tribal ID, that would, let them know that they are tribal members. And even too that the Autumns, their language it's similar to Mexican, but you can tell, from Mexican and Tohono Autumn, you know who's who.
Language is so important because it's about culture, and it's about the people who we are, and I believe that. BJ Bennett is your son, and of course he died in 2002, April the 9th. How do you feel about his anniversary of his death coming up?
Well,
it would be what, how many years then?
It will be 9.
9 years.
9 years. We still struggle with that. My children are, and are in pain because, we feel that it's, something needs to be done. It needs to be where we can have it, how do you say?
Closure.
Closure.
You're asking for closure.
Yeah, because it's like a wound being open, and it's just open, and it really hurts a lot of, it still hurts, and I guess we could we try hard to just deal with it, that, you know, that everything's going to be okay with us, but it's still there. And going through that, you know, going through what my son went through, how his death, and, you know, I feel strongly that, you know, that there's something there. There's something there that needs to be done. It needs to be solved, because other than that, we're just, you know, I'm hoping that someone will be able to come and solve it so that we can have a life and we won't have to be going through. I guess what I'm really saying is that it's hard living like this, because the case is still open. The Border Patrol are still watching us, because they know that they done something wrong, and they, you know, I think that they're just waiting, you know, for us to try to, I don't know. I mean, it
sounds like you have a lot of fear.
Yeah.
Regarding this particular issue, and I know in talking with you and previously you've always felt like it's possible that they're even tracking you. Yes. And based on your past experiences, I can understand that. And so the resolution that you're asking for is to solve the case. Yes. And being able to move on and to bring justice to your son's death. Yes. And so if there's anyone out there that could help you with this, what would you ask them? I would ask them to solve the case, and because going through all of this during the case, and to realize that it's not just my son. There has been a lot of other people that have been killed in the desert, and that no one even talks about. And my heart goes out to the people out there that are in the desert, that never got to where their destination was. You know, like my son, he never made it home. When we talk about this relationship with the people from your tribe, and also with the Mexican immigrants that come over, you mentioned to me that in some instances they offer them housing or they offer them food because of the fact that they're so desperate. Yeah. And so and was there is there a law on your tribe regarding assistance to immigrants? Yes, we are not allowed to help them in any way. We can't help them, and it just really, you know, hurts a lot of the people on the nation that they have to see that. I always wish that we could like build bridges, you know, and just build a bridge over this wall, mm-hmm. and be able to be able to communicate with each other and be nice towards each other. And it just it always saddens me to hear the fact that we are so divided in so many different ways, from our neighbors from the south, neighbors to the north. And so you're here in Montana trying to make a new start. Is that correct? Yes. Mm-hmm. And you're enrolled here at Salish County College. Yes. That's wonderful. And so, in closing, is there anything else that you'd like to say about your son? I just like to say that I really miss my son Bennett. He was really nice and he was really helpful. And he just, you know, he's really quiet and shy,
but he opens up. Once you get to know him, he's really a cool guy. But I just couldn't understand. He's just so quiet. I can't understand why. I know that night when that happened to him, he must have been, I don't know, because the coronary told me that he felt every pain. He was still alive, and he felt every pain. And when that morning came, and the tribal officers were there, and one of the officers said that he went over there, and this is like after so many hours, and he was still warm and his hands were still twitching. So, I truly believe that if they had taken him to the hospital right away, he might have made it.
He may have made it. And so you're asking for a possible lawyer to help you.
Yes.
In continuing this fight for justice for your son.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your story. It is heart-touching, heartwarming, and I've actually have learned so much from it in doing the research, and I hope that our viewers will be able to appreciate your story and also learn from it as well. And I just think that you're a lady of such great strength.
Yes.
And I hope that you find this resolution. Mm-hmm. And so if there is anyone that would that would have questions about this particular episode of Viewpoint, please feel free to reach me. Again, it's delalunafoundation@gmail.com, or my phone number is 406-499-0078. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yes.
And my name is, again, Rosalinda De La Luna with Viewpoint. I appreciate everyone for watching our episodes, and have a great day. Thank you.